Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. The record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
The record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the 21st day of March 2018, and I trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful evening and that you're all raring to go if you haven't already started your work day. I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and the management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orit Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. During those days, our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, then email us at fortherecord. That is one word, fortherecord, at candw.ky. In addition to that, we also have a WhatsApp number where you can call in or leave a voice message. That WhatsApp number is 925-3261, and I would remind you that do not expect anyone to answer that number. We encourage you to leave a voicemail or a voice message or send us a text message, and we will convey your message during the course of the show. If there are any questions, we will attempt to answer them as well. So we always welcome you to join us. It is you, our listening and viewing audience, who make the show the success that it is. And without your calls, without your interventions, without your contributions, the show would be absolutely nothing. Now it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning 3 ladies, and we will be discussing the committee that has been established for older persons, and I think that is an appropriate title. Sometimes we talk about elderly, older persons. We have younger persons and we have older persons. Now, the chairperson of that committee is Ms. Lucille Seymour. The deputy chair is Ms. Alice May Coe. And then there are members who represent particular districts, geographic districts within the islands as well. And we have Miss Patricia Ebanks. A lot of you may know her as Miss Pat Ebanks. And of course, we have 2 Pat Ebankses that are very popular in the Cayman Islands as well. This Pat Ebanks, you would, if you from Northside, you would know her also as the registering officer for Northside when it comes to elections as well, and she represents the district of Northside. So without any further ado, ladies, I'd like to say good morning and welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, OCM.
Thank you for having us here.
And it's my pleasure to have you here as well.
Today is the vernal equinox. It's the spring, beginning of spring.
Yes.
And what other time to have the Committee of Older Persons to give spring in the steps of older people and to let them be assured that there is an entity, there is a council that was put together from 2015 the beginning of it from 2015, so that older persons can be just as important as the younger ones, and that the government will ensure that there's a council to look after them, to be the watchdog for them, and that they will have the rights and they have a voice, and also for a group to be their advocate. So today we have come not necessarily to introduce, because it has been introduced by the committee before, which was then under the chairmanship of Ms. Debbie Sibley's, who did a phenomenal job in putting together such a volume. I wish the public could see the big volume that we have to follow in order to ensure that we do the right thing for elderly. So we have come today to talk about maybe the functions, talk about some of the policies and the goals, and also to talk about the gatherings that we will be having to meet the older persons, so that they can enlighten us on some of their needs that they would like us to represent them on, or to fight for, or to advocate for. So with that, I'll just pass it over to either Pat, since Pat says she's leaving us early.
Yes, she'll do the bulk of the talking for the first hour.
What is interesting here, barring Mr. Wilkes, all of us are older persons.
That's correct. That's correct. I'm part of the fraternity as well.
And I must say that's a wonderful group to be in.
It is. When I was in my 40s, I was looking forward to reach age 50. I wanted to see what it felt like. And at age 50, I said, okay, I want to see when I reach 60 what it feels like. Now that I know what it feels like, I don't want to go any further. No. Looking forward to 70 and see whether or not I'm still at the same level that I am in terms of my enthusiasm, in terms of the things that I want to continue to do.
Very good. That's the beauty of it.
Yes. If I might say, 70 is a good decade. Yeah. So you must look forward to getting there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, as O.C. said, the beauty of being older and still being very vibrant at work or in the community, that's a blessing, because when you think of others, I remember one time my mother said, one of the pastor's wives said, when I get your age, I hope I can do as you're doing. And she quickly replied, don't worry, you can't do it now, because my mother was a vibrant person as well. But it is a privilege to be able to, mix with the older people and to talk with them. And as we said, our goal is this morning is just to enlighten some of the aspects of the policy and the law that has come into effect, and our goals of what we would like to see done for the older persons of our islands. And just quickly, our purpose of the policy for the older persons, it is for 2016 to 2035, and it encompasses all aspects of an older person's life, including health, community involvement, legal protection, etc. And all of these implementations will take time, but we have to make sure that these are in place, because we want the best for our older persons. We want the best, that they can have a life that would be highlighted, and everything that they not want, but everything that is needful will be able to be given to them in these years that they have progressed and they have worked for the country. Because many have worked for the country and have gone on, they never saw what took place. But it is our desire now to make sure that those that are coming up and coming up will have these fulfillments, because when you've worked really hard and down to the older person's life, that there is nothing, we have to make sure that things are in place that they will enjoy the last years of their lives as well as they did the younger ones.
Okay.
And
when I'm looking at a CNS article that was written last year in relation to it. And let's talk about the composition of the council and let me know whether or not what was said then still obtains today. And it says Cabinet has approved the appointment of the new council with 6 members from each district, 7 government members from relevant ministries and departments, and a doctor and a lawyer. Does that still obtain?
Yes, that is still correct in the numbers.
Okay.
Yes.
And I believe that the reason for that, OC, is that we have to make sure that different facets of society buy into older persons. The government is ensuring by having its government people there that they too understand that they have to prepare for older persons, and in their budget or in their policies, whatever it is, must by law cater to older persons. So they can no longer say, well, we don't do this, we don't do that. But the law is quite specific as to what it is that they can do, they must do for the government. And I want to say here before Ms. Alice speaks that it is very noble of our country to do this. As I get older, I realize that we are wiping out the history of our older persons. I see it in the civil service. I see it in other things that happen. People only look at people who are 30 to think that they can do something. And I remember once there was a great document on women presented by the last governor, and she read it very well, but a lot of the history of who were the vanguards of it were not there. So I put my hand up to say, very well presented, but there was no mention of the Honorable Edna Moyle, who had brought this motion on women. And this is what we want not to happen, that the history of the people who made us is forgotten. We are here, as our said yesterday, the Cabinet Secretary said, we are here not in spite of, we are here because of them. So as long as I'm here and Ms. Alice and all of us are here and yourself, we have to push it because we ourselves must push ourselves. We have to have this intergenerational relationship. As both of us had when we grew up on Shedden Road, we were mixing with elderly people, and I think that's why we are the kind of people that we are today in Alice too, because she grew up in Georgetown as well, and Pat, and in Northside. We have to have that relationship with the younger people so that they understand what happened before, who brought them where they are now, whose shoulders they stood on.
And it is also beneficial for them to have an interest in this, because if you're fortunate to live long enough, you're going to find yourself in this position as well. Exactly. So why not support it now so that there is something in place, or maybe even better when you reach that stage than what we have now as well.
And I think that's what the government was thinking when they brought this in.
I like to think of the older people in light of the motto of our country, he hath founded it upon the seas. But it was on the shoulders of our older people who have gone on and those who are here that we grew and developed, because we had iron men on wooden ships, but we had women of steel at home, keeping the fires burning and dealing with everything that was happening. So they justly deserve recognition and care, and we have to ensure that the quality of their lives will be the best that we are able to afford them.
Okay. Now the mandate of the we have to go to a commercial break now. When we return, we want to talk about the mandate of the council, the things that you will be championing, the monitoring that you will be doing, the promotions that you will be doing as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, 3 ladies who have joined me in the fraternity of older persons. They have joined me. I'm a part of that group as well. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Miss Lucille Seymour, who is the chairperson of the Older Persons Council, Miss Alice May Coe, who is the deputy chair, and Miss Pat Ebanks, who's a representative for the District of Northside. We're discussing the formation of the council, the aims and objectives of the council, and we want to welcome our listeners to call in, talk about it, make comments, ask questions, make suggestions, because this is all about you. If you haven't reached this stage before, then if you're fortunate to live long enough, you're going to be in our shoes one of these days. And if you were like me, you sort of like look forward to it. So that means you want it to come quickly to see what it is like as well. Ladies, before we went to the commercial breaks, we said we wanted to look at some the mandate of the council, and I will read. It says, officials said in a release that the council will champion and monitor the promotion and development of programs, projects, and legislative measures, as well as evaluate the implementation of the action plan for the Cayman Islands Older Persons Policy. So we have an older persons policy. You will be monitoring that. You will be monitoring the measures that not only the government takes, but even the private sector as well. But I'd like you all to explain that rather than me. Miss Alice May?
Oh, okay, thank you. Well, just to reiterate, the Council of Older Persons is made up of members, one member from each district, government, chief officers, etc. And that was established under the Older Persons Law in 2017. And the whole idea is that this was set up as a vehicle to champion and advocate on behalf of the island's elderly population or older persons. And of interest in our law, a definition of older person means persons over the age of 65 years, except where the law provides for a person who is less than 65 years to be treated as an older person for the purpose of receiving a pension, etc. So I know amendments were made to the pension law because it was 60 before you could get it. Now you can work till 65. But
so it would cover those persons who opted at 60 to go
correct.
and have yet reached 65.
Yes, and of course it is your contract. For instance, my contract allowed me to work until I was 65, and at that time the pension was 60, and government was 55 or 60. Government was
but
60
you could
as
leave
well.
at 55.
But you could leave at
At
55.
55, once you've put in your 33 and a third years.
Yeah,
Correct.
but it depends on what the contract is with your
Yes.
employer or in the private sector. Now, the functions of the council is to perform such functions as may be necessary for the purpose of serving as a referral facility to provide information on services and resources for older persons, advocating for and monitoring the level of public education on the changing needs of older persons within the community, aiming to ensure the promotion, implementation, monitoring and evaluation of the policy in relation to older persons, promoting participation, involvement and social inclusion of older persons, and promoting a skills bank of older persons. The Council shall, in carrying out its functions, adopt a consultative approach in relation to the community of older persons and other critical shareholders. So that's it in a nutshell, quoting directly from the law. Now, I think we in effect are watchdogs in a positive manner on behalf of the government, because we will be working not just with the government offices, but with the private sector, liaising with, partnering with caregivers and any entity or group, churches, etc., that provide services for older persons.
Okay. Now, is there an expectation that you would do this on an ad hoc basis, or will you be provided with offices and staff, whether it be voluntary or otherwise, so that there is a day-to-day functioning of this council?
That is a very good question. But actually, we were with the cabinet secretary yesterday, Mr. Rose, who was very passionate about this. You know, he was a former social worker.
Yes.
So this is his baby, so to speak. And these were discussions going on as to making sure that the council is lived and is not just a council that meets once a month. And so therefore having a location, a place where older persons can go and say, that's our home, and they see it like you have for the youth or you have for women. The older persons themselves can come and be volunteers in it and help move it. And we are looking at different facilities. You know, some time ago, and I'm going to say this out, I hope he doesn't crucify me for it, but you know that Mrs. Arlette Dias bequeathed her house to the Cayman Islands. And so we are trying to see if the government will give that as part of the older council project, that the older persons can help develop it from a tourist perspective to help find themselves in that department and in working to showcase Cayman, because the older persons are good at that.
Yeah, exactly.
And we want to try to set up some sort of ambassadorial service where older persons can represent Cayman. So he's very strong on this, and we have good faith that he's going to help us put up a center for older persons, that they can have a home where we can have like a little secretariat where we can help them come and do educational projects, teach them money sense, help them with the digital world that we have today. So that is all of those things are in the works, and he's very, very, very much behind us.
And you could also use it as a referral service. Those persons who need assistance don't know where to go, but you
That's
can
correct.
point them. You may not have the expertise there, but you can point them in that direction.
Yeah, we would be making up a directory.
Yes.
So that to facilitate them to know where everything is that will cater to them.
Okay, we're going to our 8 o'clock news now, folks. Very important topic that we're talking about. It involves you. And you may say, involves me? I'm only 35 years old. If you're lucky, you're going to reach 60 or 65 one of these days, and you're going to need these same services that we're talking about there. So we want you to continue to listen. We want you to participate as well. We're going to our 8 o'clock news. For the record, we'll return immediately after our 8 o'clock news. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me some of the members of the Older Persons Council. They are Miss Lucille Seymour, the chairperson, Miss Alice May Coe, the deputy chairperson, as well as Miss Patricia Ebanks, who is a member representing Northside. Miss Patricia Ebanks has to leave us at 8:30, so we're going to give her an opportunity to do most of the talking before she leaves. But before she does that, I'd like Miss Alice May Coe to talk about the formation of the council, because there are other persons involved in the council as well, and we would want to give them some recognition also. Miss Alice May?
Exactly. Thank you, O.C. We are a team, and we are fortunate to have members from the different districts as well as the chief officers. And I must name them at this time. We have, as we said, Miss Pat from Northside. We have Miss Lana Poldevart for the Sister Islands. And, of course, we have Mr. Mark Beckford. We're fortunate to have him as our attorney at law. And then Dr. Erica Simmons, the medical doctor. Because as you look in the law, you'll see it's required, and we're very happy to have them. And then we have chief officers from the Ministry of Community Affairs, and from the minister responsible for health, the minister responsible for education, employment, gender affairs. And then, of course, last but not least, we have our executive secretary representing the Cabinet Coordination Unit Officer, and that's Mr. Garfield Ellison. And he's not quite last because we have Mrs. Tempora Wesley representing the Department of Children and Family Services. And we're very thankful to have them all on board working together with us. We're a new council. It'll take some time for us to find our feet. And this is a first for the Cayman Islands, as it were. So we are trading on some new ground, but we look forward to working with other organizations and groups for the betterment of our older persons.
Okay. Now, Ms. Pat, based on what you know about the council, tell us some of the expectations that you believe that persons in the District of Northside would have. There will be times when there are things that affect persons island-wide, and then there are things that will be specific to a particular district.
Thank you, O.C. First of all, we would like to say, give kudos to the churches that have already implemented certain things for their seniors. I can speak specifically, as you said, for Northside. They have a seniors luncheon. They do it once a month. They carry them out to outings. They do other work with them, but we would like to see that the older persons, the entire facet of their lives, to be, garnered to and taken care of. I would like to see also, I'm sure that they still do it maybe on a smaller scale like craft, but I know a number of years back they had a vibrant craft work going on. Every Tuesday evening, the older people, citizens would come together, the women especially, and it's so important. Wouldn't say a coincidence, but to think that we are here as the first time, and this is honoring of women for the month of March. And we think, and it's not just for the women, but we realize that the men are still out there doing other work, and the women mostly retired or whatever. But that would be one of the things that we would like to see putting forward in my district, and with the help of each one, going forward, that they will have other ways of coming together, spending time, not just sitting at home or maybe going and do a little shopping or whatever, but to see them come together, because they still have a lot in them to bring out. And in these gatherings, then, we can have those women showing the younger generations. Kind of sad to say that some of them, they really don't bend towards that with the crafts or other things. But when it comes to the cooking, we have top-notch people that can cook in our district, and to see them come together to teach, the younger generations. Our goals, we have some certain goals that are put together in the council. I'll just say one: to ensure older persons enjoy their highest level of independency, and develop them, that they will be able to put forward to the younger ones. Because as you said, O.C., they too, if they live, they will get to be the age of the older persons, and then they will have to be carrying on the work. And there's one thing that I'm sure I speak for the council. Our desire is not just to have these folders with all of these documents, the laws passed, and sit and we discuss, and then it becomes just a knot.
Yes.
We want to see this go forward because we feel that the older persons, the citizens of our country, deserve the best. They deserve to have these things within their own homes that they can portray to others, and then carry forward to teaching the younger ones. And another goal, as we said, to establish working groups in open discussions. We don't want to just say, well, it's ours.
Yes.
We want to pass it on. That even as we were having the break, and Georgetown being such a large district, Miss Lucy will have other ones, deputies with her, that she will not be just the person for Georgetown, but she will have other people. West Bay, yes, North Side is small, but it is growing. But we can have also another person, because if Miss Lucille or myself or Miss Alice May has to go away and there's a function that was planned, we want that to go on. We don't want it just to stop. We want that to portray, to keep going. So it is my desire as the health-wise to see every person, older person, be treated fairly. And we know that if we have these things in place for them, they will be able to attend, and then also that they too can pass it down to our younger generation. Craft work, cooking sessions, and even as Miss Seymour said, they can also have the younger people coming in and helping them in the digital world, technology world that we live in, and give them an insight into what they can do. And I think it's a wonderful privilege we have, that we have been chosen, and we need then to do our part to see that this moves forward, that each person, the goals that we have, the fostered family, the activities, that we can help to better our country. And I'm sure that they will speak of many things that we need to see put in place that older persons can benefit from. There are many aspects of going into the stores, going someplace else, and they are not just put in line to wait as older person. Don't get me wrong, there are some older persons that still think, I don't need any special attention,
yes.
right? But then there are older people. There's still some older ones that would want that. And we have to be grateful for the way and the roads they have paved that we are enjoying now as, we would say, older people.
Okay, I'm going to read again from this article, and says here the Older Persons Law seeks to promote access to services, including their affordability, physical accessibility, and acceptable maintenance, social inclusion, so that other elderly feel valued, their opinions and differences are respected, and their basic needs are met, so that they can live with dignity, anti-discriminatory practices, and improve care, including physical, psychological, social, or material assistance and services aimed at promoting the quality of life and well-being of older persons. And like you all pointed out, this cannot be achieved simply by the council. No. So you will be working in tandem with other agencies, being governmental or NGOs, to achieve these goals as well.
Yes. We would not be replacing any of those organizations. Right. We're working together in partnership and supplementing the services that are needed for the elderly, because together we can make a big difference. I mean, our Bill of Rights speaks about discrimination, and it only says by age, but we need to really flesh that out and make certain that all of the needs and requirements of our elderly are taken care of, and the law is there to help us on that path. One thing I might say about the Older Persons Register, no, we're not going to be going out there and pulling old people in to join up with us. They can register voluntarily. Any and every older person have the opportunity to request to be added to the register. And that way we'll have information as to where they live. And so just in case they're in an area that is prone to flooding and hurricanes, we'll know, get them out to a place of safety. And things like that, but nobody's forced. And
what about accessibility to certain things? Now, one of the operative words that I sort of like stuck out here and that was affordability. We know that the Cayman Islands are not necessarily the cheapest place in the world to live. And we know that, for instance, medical services, at least from the government side of things, that they have made them affordable to the elderly. In most instances, it's free either through Cineco or otherwise. But there are other areas. We know that there's some supermarkets that have a particular day where there are discounts that are given for older persons and things of that nature as well. So at some point in time, would a person be able to get some sort of identification card so that they can prove their age? I mean, they would look at me and see the gray hairs and know, well, we don't need an ID from him. But
I had a boy at 10 with full gray hair. So, But I wanted to say that as we speak, Sherpel, they are doing a study. Insurance contract for retirees and senior citizens. They did a presentation the other day. This is on the through Mervyn, the commissioner of
insurance.
Health.
Yes,
And they are looking at 65 plus insurance to see how it can be affordable, and also to get more and more things involved in it. I can just pass this off to you.
Sure.
You can look at it and give
if
it
I may, just
so
say,
that study's being done now in the Cayman Islands.
Okay.
Yes, there's a survey available now that they're inviting the public to log on. I don't have the actual log on, but it was just in the news yesterday or within the last couple of days that the public's been asked to log on, get into that survey, and give us your comments in relation to the affordable, especially for the older persons, insurance that these consultants are looking into. So I think it has to be done by the middle of April. So I'm asking everyone to go online, read your newspaper, get the right to play. And if anyone knows the website that it's on, please
Call in
and let us know so we can share with everyone. But get involved is most important, because together we make a stronger country, especially by taking care of the vital group of people in our community, the older persons.
Okay, Ms. Pat, we know you have to go in at 8:30. I want to give you an opportunity if you have any final comments that you want to make before you go.
Thank you. Yes, we look forward to, as Ms. Alice may just said, the vital, all the affordability that can be offered to the elderly, and to make it have like I said before, the entire facet of their life to be better, to have things in place, not just to have things in place, but to be able to meet the needs of our elderly, the older people who have paved the way for those that are younger. And I trust that as we progress and as we go from step to step with this older person's council, there will be others too that will be joining in, and we will be, also with the private sector and all those that are doing the work that have been going on for many years, that we will be joining with them and inviting them just for the betterment of our country, the Cayman Islands. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Pat. Folks, please stay tuned. We're going to a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue with Miss Lucille Seymour and Miss Alice Mako. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, Miss Lucille Seymour, Miss Alice Mako. They are chairperson and deputy chairperson, respectively, of the Council for Older Persons. If you're out there, if you're listening, and if you're within the age group, we want to hear from you. What are some of the challenges that you may be facing as an individual, or that you may see others facing as individuals when they have reached the age of 60 and above? Some of the expectations that you may have, some of the things that you would like to see in place. I, for one, for instance, I love to travel. Airline travel isn't cheap. We know we have our national airlines, Cayman Airways. It doesn't necessarily go to every city that you would travel to, but it certainly goes to the gateway cities in the United States, goes to Jamaica as well, to Cuba as well, Central America as well. There are those who think that Cayman Airways may be a liability to the government of the Cayman Islands. I see it as an asset to the people of the Cayman Islands, money well spent. Would you want to see a discounted price for persons over 60 or 65? Is this something that the Council for Older Persons could advocate for on your behalf? Would you want them to advocate on your behalf for this? Answer from me, yes. So I would ask the ladies here, think something like that?
Well, that is all in the part of our policy and our goals. Because we have.
And we're not asking for a free ride, we're asking for a discount.
There are 5 goals, and
Yes.
they are broken down into strategies and strategy aims. So it's a lot. Now remember that this whole thing is covering 20 years.
Yes.
The committee has done a phenomenal job in putting it together. But the law has left nothing unturned. You know, the law, OC, both of us are getting on in age. And I have personally witnessed when running for the elections how people said she's too old. That's their thoughts. But the law says an older person shall not be, by reason of being an older person, be denied the opportunity to participate in programs, work or activities that relate to political office, including the opportunity to vote using procedures, facilities, materials, and support that are appropriate, accessible, and easy to understand and use. The opportunity to be elected to public office and perform public functions at all levels of the government. And I believe there was also a set here in terms of when you're picking people for boards, that the inclusivity of the older person must be there. So they have really done a fine job in ensuring that the older person is a human being and has a life to live. Not because you're 65 that you stop living.
They have opportunities and rights like the rest.
As a matter of fact, there are some people that get better at 65 in terms of their mental faculties, in terms of their vision, in terms of their way of thinking, because you have experience. And you don't want that to die. And you want people to live out their life well, in dignity, you don't want them to be shut-ins. And I think, and I'll say this, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for it, but I will say it, that we tend to be too much of a young country. When you go around Cayman, you never see any edifice or picture of an older person. Nothing. You never see it. Yet, in places just 4 to 5 minutes away, you will see gray hair pictures on billboards and things. You don't see it in Cayman. People don't pick older persons. Now there's a law which says you have to do it, and I think this is admirable.
Yes.
For the older persons, and they should be happy. And I invite them to get that law and understand it well, and hold the government. The government say they are bound to this law, and hold the government to it.
And that's where the council are there as the watchdogs, and we have to, be vigilant ourselves and see what's happening around us. And we have to report to the government and say this is falling by the wayside or whatever, and everything like that. You were speaking of discounts. One of the things, Miss Lucille and I, since we were appointed to the council, I think we've lost track of the many times we've met in addition to our regular monthly meetings, trying to go through the various things, and we had meeting with the cabinet secretary yesterday, etc. But one of the things that we would like to see is like a discount card. Now, I'll refer to, in years past, maybe it's still on, that the chamber used to have a discount card.
Yes.
So something like that, where various businesses would give discounts to the older persons, whether it was your grocery shopping or whatever, and referring to airfares, perhaps our national airline, of which we are all and justifiably proud, may well be on that as well. But that is a thought we have. We have to develop it, and amongst other things that we are working on to put together for the benefit of the older persons, because they cannot be neglected any longer. They must not be forgotten, because without them, we would not be here. They made a difference in the development. No matter what category of work they were doing, they all contributed to the foundation upon which the Cayman Islands have been built.
Okay, we have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. O.C. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Morning, good. Good morning also to your panelists, Sue Steele and Alice May, two outstanding ladies. I wouldn't say, they're young ladies still, so you wouldn't call them anything else. But thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank you.
And also, I know Ms. Pat was there, but she left. So, good job. Thank you all very much for the work you're doing. I just want to make a quick comment about the health insurance for retirees and people over age 65, and I thank you for promoting that, because those of us who are, marching towards age 65 have to be aware of that situation where people who are employed now, for most organizations, they may have health insurance thanks to the health insurance law and to, employers who have been voluntarily doing it for years. But once you leave most organizations and when you retire or whatever, after 90 days, you're really out on your own unless you have some independent means of health insurance. So I commend the government for calling this study and the Department of Health Regulatory Services and Health Insurance Commission for doing it. I think Ms. Alice may ask for where people could go to do the survey online. On the Chamber of Commerce website, there's a link as well. So if folks go on to www.chamber.ky, there's a link to that survey on there as well. But it's important for people to actually do the survey and to provide input for the consultants, because this is a major problem, a major challenge for the country. If we don't get health insurance in place, some kind of coverage in place for retirees, it's going to bring the country to its knees in terms of poverty and in terms of having the state put a huge bill for health insurance coverage. As you all know, the retirement age in the country, there's no real retirement age. The pension law sets age 65 now as the age that you can start receiving a pension or not have to contribute to a pension, but that's not really a mandatory retirement age. Employers can still push people out of the organization when they set their own retirement age. If an employer wants to set 55 as their retirement age, they can push somebody out at 55, even though the person is willing and able to work, because the labor law does not have a retirement age, does not have penalties for anybody pushing people out other than unfair dismissal. And in the labor relations bill that we were trying to get sorted out a couple of years ago, there was a retirement age put in there of 65, that you couldn't push somebody out before that age, and if you did, you would have to have penalties for doing so. So it's important for people to think about health insurance, and I encourage everybody to sign that or to go in and do that survey. And I thank you all, ladies, for your work and for reminding the public of the importance of that. And I thank you for your time, Mr. Orrit, and unless you have any questions, my time is up.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Mario. And actually, you answered a question that one of our listeners sent in by email a few days ago, talking about the retirement age and the remarks that were made by the Premier in the Legislative Assembly when he spoke about the fact that in the private sector, the retirement age may be governed by the contractual arrangement that you may have with your employer.
Yeah, that is.
And I'm glad that you pointed that out. So for the private sector, there is no legally required retirement age.
No, there's not.
Right.
And I when I was director of labor, we tried to encourage people to work with employees and to keep them on as long as they can work and they can contribute and they're not holding another Caymanian down. But some employers, including some of our captains of industry who run some of these organizations, as soon as you near age 60, they're putting you out the door. So that's not good,
Yep.
But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mario, for that as well. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. And I have a WhatsApp from someone talking about a politician in Jamaica who is 82 years and is as sharp as it can be still as well. So we'll give you that name when we return. Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Miss Lucille Seymour, Miss Alice Mako. Miss Seymour is the chairperson of the Older Persons Council, and Miss Alice Mako is her deputy. One of our listeners says, tell Miss Lucille that Mike Henry in Jamaica is about 82 years of age, and he is still one of the sharpest members of government. Age is just a number. And we have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. This is Cresswell.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Cresswell.
Good morning, Crystal.
Yes. I would like to say that advise the general public that they can also pick up hard copies at the district clinic as well. At least that was announced this morning. So that's a place that you can get it. Because for me, and I don't think I'm just alone in this. I wouldn't be able to pull down anything on the computer. So I'm happy that we can have a hard copy. One of the things that I would suggest too, and I've made that suggestion more than once before, for government to consider, giving our older people, jobs as wardens and as ambassadors, because as you all rightly said, it was what we are enjoying today is the result of the older people, putting it in place. So that would having them out there visiting with or interacting with our visitors, and would be a boost to our tourism industry, and it would also be able to supplement their income. Another area that older people could be, their knowledge could be utilized, would be as consultants. I mean, so often government brings in people from foreign countries that knows nothing about the Cayman Islands or about our culture, and overlook the vast amount of people here that could contribute to that. So I think that is one area that we should be considering. Another area, another thing that I would like to let the general public know, that the constituency of West Bay South, not West Bay South, West Bay Central, meets at the Church of Christ on Bottomanu Road every Wednesday at 10 o'clock for the older citizens of West Bay. But I mean, anybody from other districts would be free, welcome as well. So that happens at 10 o'clock until probably 12:30, and it's a good group of people who gather there, and we interact with each other and do quizzes and a number of other things. So that is another avenue, and I would encourage the other representatives, constituencies, to do something similar, so that the burden will not just fall on one particular area. So I'm looking forward to being able to contribute in any way that I possibly can. And another area that I would be more than willing to offer my limited services would be assisting older people in getting around. Perhaps they would need to get to the clinic or get to the shop, supermarket, or someplace, or go on some errands. I would be more than willing to assist if I'm called upon. So my phone number is 925-3834. 925-3834. The only time you probably wouldn't get me would be between 12 and 3. I try to get back to the old time of taking that siesta. but otherwise, but don't leave a message, please, because I can't retrieve them.
Okay.
If you call once you don't get me, call another time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Powery.
Mr. Cresswell, for your input and offering to assist. This is what we want, because the more volunteers we get, the better life is for people. And if each one of us give 1 hour each day to help somebody, life will be better. And I'm so happy that he's given us at least 3 things to think about. He's very right about getting the older persons and consultants. Maybe when I was growing up, going to school, we didn't have them. But today we have very bright retirees. I keep telling people that I don't know why we have to go and get people from elsewhere when we have them right here sitting down. I can think of you, O.C., I can think of me, I can think of Alice, I can think of Deanna Locklaw, who looks after her plants and who's a farmer now, and all sorts of people that are retired, that are smart and have done well. We must utilize them. If we don't utilize them, then they just wither and die.
Yeah, and
just like a flower.
I was having a conversation with someone last week, and they were again speaking about the institutional knowledge that the civil service has lost and has not really tapped into the way that they should be tapping into as well. The other observation is that it appears, and I would welcome anyone to challenge me on it, that religious organizations seem to take the lead in taking care of the needy and the elderly. So it would appear to me that those are some of the organizations that you can tap into, as well, either for the expertise or to partner with you as well.
Yeah. It's like I said earlier,
they do very well in enhancing the spiritual side of the elderly. And as we know, we have to look at the total person. And I wanted to segue in here now to talk about under one of the goals about the whole action plan to introduce health and wellness. And to say, OC, that is the biggest thing that will make you a stronger older person or a weaker older person if you do not attend to your health. And what I would suggest to people that older persons, when they can move in, whether you want to dance, you want to skip, you want to swim, you want to ride bicycle like OC, but move.
Work in your garden.
Walk, walk still like how we used to do it in Georgetown. Go out to the post office, walk around, walk downtown, especially on a Friday when the boats are in, and look around and just walk and walk. And we need that. We need that wellness. And that is coming under Goal 1. And we have had lots of volunteers who say that they will be willing to help with the moving, whether it be dancing or whether it be just moving the body so that we can get the kinks out of it. But that is very important to OC for older persons.
Go ahead.
Yes, I want to just go back to Mr. Cresswell and thank him because he's one of the persons on whom I, as the rep for West Bay, will be calling. And he is spot on about, having them consider the older persons as wardens and ambassadors in the tourism situation. Not only would it help with their income, but it would just keep them so vibrant and alive. And who better than our own people, our older people, to tell our visitors about the real Cayman. Mm-hmm. That's most important. And I thank you for offering yourself to work with us. And If I don't call you, you know my number, 925-2484. Because as I said earlier this morning, Miss Lucille and I just sort of constantly having meetings and gathering information and working towards fulfilling the goals of the council, which is for a long period, a 20-year period, and we know Rome was not made in a day. So we have to do things step at a time, but whatever we do, we are aiming for it, God willing, to be for the benefit of our older persons. Thank you again.
Okay.
And thanks also to Mr. Mario for the Chamber website, www.chamber.ky, and there's a link on that for the survey. And thank you, Mr. Cresswell, also for saying hard copies can be collected at the district clinics, and I am sure other places as well. So let's spread the word and get that survey for that affordable health for the older persons in particular. Together we can make a difference and in the Cayman Islands, and especially in the lives of our people.
And there's strength in numbers, so the more persons we have participating in the survey, the more better information that those persons who are then analyzing the survey will be able to have as well. We're going to our 9 o'clock headline news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Have a message that we received from someone. It says suggestions for the council. Will they be establishing a register of older persons, visiting them instead of them coming to the CIOPP? Because in situations where some family members are taking care of them, proper use of personal funds or from government, family may not want / allow them to come forward as some family members are taking care of, would not want them to come forward as they may be abusing that older person's rights and want to keep it hidden. Documenting a profile for each older person can be used to establish their health, medical, financial management, living conditions, daily care. I suggest making an initial visit to the elderly to educate them what's available to them and let them decide / disclose to the council member. Some elderly live alone. And in need of health care and having a little difficulty with this, and have needs that they should be used to. Sorry about that. Still trying to get some family members. Council members, some elderly live alone. Evaluation to establish if they need home health care and all other needs that they should have. I think this register should be done, and it's very important to get off on the right foot. I experienced that an elderly lady fell who lives alone, couldn't get up to open the door for 911, whom she called, and fire services had to be called to go through a window. She could have hit her head or had a heart attack. Also, equip them with an alert that goes to an institution or family member or caretaker in or off residence. There is so much neglect going on with our older persons. Nutrition plays a prime part in staving off illness. Suggestions by a visiting nutritionist would be helpful and should include the caretakers. I will make myself available to assist the council as a deputized arm helper with anything they need done. So this person, I don't have a name, but it's obviously someone who's certainly prepared to assist. And what I'd like you to do then is to provide contact information. I'm sure that person is still listening, contact information, how they can get in contact with the council if they want to offer their services and assist.
Well, my number is 916-1944, but they have to call it twice because I'm not hooked up to a voicemail. So it bounces it out.
Okay, 916-1944.
And mine is 925-2484.
925-2484. We have two callers, and I know you ladies still have lots you want to talk about as well. So let's take the callers first. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Miss Seymour. How are you? It's Noel Smith here.
I'm great. Good.
I'm calling, because I've been thinking of a lot of stuff when it comes to our seniors. And one of the things that I totally had enjoyed, a event that was held at the town hall a couple of times for the senior citizens. That was actually a great event. And sitting down thinking about a few things, I was thinking, since it seems like a lot of our younger kids don't really know much about our island, who best to tell them about our seniors, and perhaps putting something together where our senior citizens can come out on a particular day, even if it's at the town halls, and, we can sit there and listen to the way they grew up in the old Caymanian way. I'm turning 50 this year, so I have looked back several times on when I was growing up to where Cayman has progressed to at this point, and there was so many changes. All the things that we used to do, the places we used to visit, are no longer there. So, this would be something great, because nothing used to please us more than when we came home after school on rainy days. Our grandmother used to make old-style rice pudding and the flapjacks, in the big metal frying pans and stuff, and they would tell us stories of when they were growing up. Going to the old conch shell house and the things they had to do. And we have seemed to have lost our heritage along that way. So, there's so much that the elderly can offer us here, and it's a shame to see that, and this is my opinion, I don't know if anybody's going to agree with me, but it is great that you're putting these structures in place to make sure the elderlies are being taken care of. But what about the kids of these elderlies? I mean, if I had a choice of buying a vehicle for $40,000 or making sure that my parents were okay, I would put my parents first.
We agree
Very
with
good
that.
point.
For sure.
Very
We
good
agree
point,
with
Sam,
that.
that you
I
have
mean,
mentioned
I
here.
would feel embarrassed to know that I'm out there working and Wheels on Meals has to deliver food to my family, my mom and my dad, because it's a bad thing. I mean, end of the day, these are people that have paved the way for you to achieve what you've achieved so far, and you have to look out for them.
Yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Meals on Wheels is a great organization. They're doing a fantastic job. But we as kids got to take up the responsibilities as well.
Quite right, because in the old days, families took care of their own.
Precisely.
Yes, and we know things are difficult for a lot of people, and the children and grandchildren may not have the means to meet all of the needs, but you can still be there and see that they are well taken care of by, inviting others to assist. The churches are very involved, as we know, Meals on Wheels, and there are some wonderful organizations that are out there working within the community of the Cayman Islands and helping not just the older ones, but the young people as well. But
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. First of all, I mean, there is a law that says that children are responsible for their parents as well. That's not, we just sort of ignore that, it seems.
Exactly, ma'am. I mean, we put these laws in place, but who is actually executing them? Has
Enforcement.
anybody actually been out
Enforcement
there
is
and brought
the
charges
problem.
against anyone or demand that people assist with their parents?
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate that very much, and it's good to have you call. And as we gave our telephone numbers, I'll also give my email address, but I know we have an email address that goes to the Executive Secretary,
Yeah.
Mr. Garfield Ellison. Right off the top of my head, I will just give his general email, which is garfield.ellison@gov.ky.
Okay.
But because I'm not 100% sure, my memory's not too good at this moment about the particular email address we have for the Older Persons Council. I know there is one, but Miss Lucille and I don't think we have actually used that, but we've learned of that just very recently. But if you send it to Mr. Garfield and refer to that, and again, Miss Lucille's phone number is 916-1944. Call it twice because she has no voicemail and it'll kick it out. And mine is 925-2484.
Thank you very much, caller, for
I
that.
just want to say thanks so much. And
Thank
y'all
you
doing a
too
great
for
job.
your suggestions. They were
Okay, let's grab the other caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, morning. I sitting here listening to a lot of this talk about elderly people,
Yes.
the older person.
Uh-huh.
I know I have heard this conversation before. But anyway, we'll not go there. We're hopeful that this would be a new beginning and forward with a lot of gusto.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for that to happen, you've got to have people with the sensitivity to all of these various aspects that you have in mind to address
Mm-hmm.
that will follow through on this. And you said about the health. Health has occupied a little bit of conversation this morning. And older persons, I think in all districts, probably, most likely, was very fond of the sea, swimming.
Sure.
You know? And you look around and see the lack of facilities at the public beaches
Mm-hmm.
that does not accommodate an older person maybe going to the beach. The beach accesses play into all of this. So this is a big picture that we're looking at, and unless the sensitivity to all of these things are in place, in the right place, then, somebody coming behind me may be sitting addressing this same conversation. And I'll just touch on two more subjects. Consultants, yes. We're losing a lot of the knowledge that older persons have accumulated over the years and can still articulate on what they know, what they've learned. It's all stored between that big hard drive between our ears. Ambassadors. Occasionally, I hide in the bushes and listen to some of these tour operators dispensing information that is completely out of context with Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this would be a good area to really start making some inroads, and it could be done on a district level because a lot of tours come through the district.
Yes.
And I'll just speak about, go back to the beaches, the therapeutic value to older persons of just being able to see the beaches and what's happening in our community. all of the access to even see the sea, the beach, is being obscured. So something for all of us to think about, and I think this council, as it is described, would be a good vehicle to coagulate all of these things and push it. You're going to have to push it. But you have to have people with the level of sensitivity to all these things at the top, because everything goes to the top and then it flows back out. And that's what I have to say for.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that very wise.
Thank you,
Sage
caller.
advice, yes.
And I know you're from West Bay, and I look forward to having you a part of the grouping
And that's
for
two
West
you've got now.
for West Bay.
Yeah, we need those other districts to call in.
Assist there, and excellent ideas, wonderful. We agree with you. We know that the older person's idea started, say 7 years ago, and it sort of got to a point and wasn't able to go any further for whatever reason. However, we are hopeful, and God willing, that we will be able to push for and fulfill as many of the goals that as we can,
bearing in mind it's a 20-year program that we have here, so we won't be able to do it all in one day, but with people like yourself, we can make a difference. We can make a difference. And the beach accesses, I don't need to say anything more. Everybody knows where I am on that. And we must ensure that accesses are kept clear and open and available to all ages, particularly our older persons. And we know actually getting down into the water, we were speaking just yesterday, Miss Lucille and I, as we met with the Cabinet Secretary, about making it easier for the elderly to get down to the beach, in the water, and up out of the water. So a lot of what you've said, we've made notes on it, and we thank you and look forward to working on this with you in the very near future. And you know where I live, and I know where you live. So God bless you, my dear.
Okay, we're going to take our last commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. Another 15 minutes to go on For the Record. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Miss Lucille Seymour, Miss Alice May Coe. They are respectively the chairperson and deputy chairperson of the Older Persons Council in the Cayman Islands. Before I throw the mic back over to them, we've spoken about this before, where you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to establishing the organization or looking at some of the goals. We can look at some of the achievements in other jurisdictions. We know the UK has organizations in place, notably in the United States of America, the AARP, which is very active, well recognized, well funded, and has a huge membership that participates, in the activities of the AARP as well. So I just wanted to mention that also.
Well, thank you, because that's one of the groups that have been, mentioned to us and it's written in paper for us. So we certainly have models, US, UK, wherever. Thank you for that. Now, we cannot let this 2 hours which have flown by so quickly without referring to a main thing that the council has in the mill right now. We are having district gatherings for the older people, and the first district will start from North Side, and the tentative dates, but you'll be hearing a lot more about this very shortly to firm it up. The first district gathering would be in North Side on Monday the 9th of April. And the representatives of each district will be working with the community development officers, and we'll be inviting the MLAs to go out there and make certain their constituents are in the know and they are help. So it'll be a joint effort. We want the MLAs to know that. Then on East End, we have the 11th of April, and Bodden Town, the 14th of April, Georgetown, the 21st of April, and that's Miss Lucille, of course, and Cayman Brac. We are going over to the Sister Islands, God willing, on Wednesday, the 25th of April, and we work in there with Miss Lana Paul DeVart and Miss Anna Rose Scott, and Miss Lucille and I, and hopefully the executive secretary will be able to juggle his schedule so that he can come along with us. And other council members who may be able to or wish to come along, we'll decide on that very shortly. We're having a meeting or a regular meeting tomorrow for the council. Then West Bay, last but not least, I must say, because I don't want to lose my passport there, will be on the 28th of April, which is a Saturday. But we will be putting this out in the press, the various media sources, to remind our members. And at those gatherings, we want the older persons of each district to come to their particular gathering so that they can listen to what we have to say, but more importantly, we can listen to them and gather their views on the various goals that are in place that we wish to implement. And if I may I think I have time. Very quickly,
Sure.
I will...
We still have about 7 minutes.
Yes, I will share the 5 goals so they can keep in mind, and when they come there, they will have thought about them and say, well, under that particular goal, we think this should happen. Their suggestions. You are treasures to us, older people. You're invaluable, and your input, we look forward eagerly to hearing from you and to meeting with you at those times. The goal 1, it's ensuring that older persons enjoy their highest level of independence and autonomy. And this goal is supported by various action plans that we will be implementing, but we need your input because we know that no one can think of everything, and you are right there on the ground, and you can tell us, you've missed this, but we think we need to do something here. Second goal is the provision and promotion of opportunities for older persons to participate in and enjoy full inclusion in society. The third goal is the provision of health care to older persons. And we've just heard about the consultants who are doing a study, and the survey is out there. So please, 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 everyone in the Cayman Islands, get involved, get that survey, fill that out, because your input makes the difference in what the outcome will be of this consultant's report. Goal 4 is to have increasing the opportunities of self-fulfillment for older persons. And for instance, it's to improve accessibility and engagement of older persons in educational, cultural, spiritual, and recreational activities, and to ensure that trained professionals and paraprofessionals are assigned to provide key services to older persons within their districts. Goal 5, we are to ensure fair, equitable, and respectful treatment of older persons. And in this respect, we would be identifying relevant agencies to develop an awareness campaign using visual and performing arts, social media, and radio, television to sensitize the youth and the public to the importance of older persons to the family unit, and to review the existing organized community-based activities promoting intergenerational approach to activities between older persons and young persons. And there's a lot more to go there, but we want to highlight the importance of the young and the old respecting and working with each other, because the older ones are passing the baton to the younger ones, and if you don't be there to receive and value the importance of what knowledge that no one like our older persons have to share with you. We know our little country, and we must be proud of it, and lose no opportunity, miss no opportunity to thank the older persons for all that they have done to make Cayman what it is today. Because you have to carry on, and we each should be trying very hard to leave Cayman in a better position than we took it over. So let's build upon it. And we had a firm foundation, founded upon the seas, but the shoulders of our older persons and all that they contributed must not go to waste. And you young people are the ones to help us move forward with that. And last but not least, the young lady, the WhatsApp Mr. O.C. had read there about visiting the older persons and having a register. And there is, the council shall maintain a confidential register containing the particulars of any older person who requests to be registered. We cannot come into a home or anywhere and force someone to join that register.
Right.
The older persons, if they're able to, apply for themselves and do that because they're still taking care of everything, that's great. Or if they have caregivers and guardians, family members, And I think I might venture to say, if someone in the community knows that an older person is neglected, abused in any way, I think they need to speak to the appropriate authorities so that we can work with them and take the steps according to the laws that are in place. Because we don't want to, invade anybody's privacy. And whatever information we get on the older persons, it has to be kept very confidential. And if at any time an older person says, I don't want to be on the register anymore, okay, we remove them, that's no problem. But when you get on the register, you will be provided with a certificate of registration to prove, yes, I'm a part of that, I'm a member of that. And if you decide to leave one day, well, we'll take you off. We are also hoping, Miss Lucille and I have spoken of an identification card. In fact, the whole council, we hope to develop a little identification card, and it would be that identification card that, looking into the future, they'd be able to present and
it'll open doors for you.
Open doors and get some discounts. And there's so much to do, so many ideas that we have, but we know that it's only if we all work together that we will make a difference.
Yep. Miss Lucille.
Well, I want to, first of all, say thank you to you for being such a wonderful older person's host.
You're welcome.
I mean,
You're most welcome.
no other person could do it the way you do it. It was really enjoyable. And you have such a history of knowledge that, it makes life easier for anyone who comes here. But I wanted to say that Margaret Thatcher once said that you can tell the health of a country the way it looks after its children, its old people. And on 2 occasions, we had some assessments here. One was Dr. Wint, and the other was the National Assessment for Living Conditions. And they referred to the negligence of the older persons. So I think that it is opportune and credit to the government from 2015 to bring this to fore, to have it as law, have it as a policy, and now have the action plans. And I really think it's quite a noble thing to do. And to know that the largest voting bloc of people in this country are 55 and up.
Yes.
So, if I can use my political side and say, well, if you don't do well for the older persons, they don't get your vote.
Exactly.
So we have to ensure that they live to great standing. I want to applaud the young persons who came on board on our committee, and we have that intergenerational mix, and also for the callers for their excellent suggestions, and the invitation that they would wish to help.
Yes.
I personally would like to tell you, this is my personal feeling, that I feel that Cayman has lost its way for its older people. I think that we have to review what we teach our young people, what we teach our children in respecting older folks. You and I, OC, grew up with older people, and Alice, and so we have a different attitude. And so therefore it's not too late.
No,
It's not too late for us to be for the noble people in our country, the older folks. And I want to leave people by saying, the young ones are saying, if you don't want to get old, you're going to die. If you think that old is not is not trendy, old is trendy. If you think it's not trendy, then you're going to be in Dixie or Prospect.
Yes.
And we don't want you to be there. We want you to be taking a better place than we have taken. I enjoy this, and I really think that this should not be the end of it. This should be the beginning of it.
Yes.
And thank you very much for it.
And
thank you to Mr. Wilkes for.
And I think it's a good beginning as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you working in the outdoors. I also want to thank my guests this morning, Miss Lucille Seymour, Miss Alice Mayco, and Miss Patricia A. Banks, who had to leave us early. I want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who is less fortunate, and this morning I will add the word more vulnerable than we are. And those most vulnerable in our society these days are our young people and our elderly. And I ask you to lend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity or get involved with the Council for Older Persons. Because we always want to consider those who need, those who are vulnerable, not necessarily those who want or those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Ebanks at 12 noon for a talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is
informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record.